Hello, Pewter people. Scott Reynolds here with another Pewter Pulse. The Bucs got a wake-up call during training camp, and I think that's a good thing. Tampa Bay had a total of three joint practices against Jacksonville and Miami, and if I had to score those practices, I'd say the Bucs didn't win any of them. So why is that a good thing for a team coming off four straight playoff appearances, three straight NFC South division titles, and then absolute demolition of a very talented Eagles team in the playoffs? I'll tell you in just a moment. But first, your reminder to hit the thumbs up button, give us a like, also leave a comment. Love reading the comments. Doing those two things helps us with the YouTube algorithm, gets us in front of more awesome Bucks fans like you. Now, on to the Pewter Pulse this week and why the Bucks so showing in these joint practices might be a good thing. Tampa Bay went up to Jacksonville for two joint practices, and most observers will tell you the Jaguars won both days overall on both sides of the ball. To be fair, the Bucs were coming on strong at the end of the first day of joint practices on Wednesday, and the second day was not as lopsided as the first in the Jags' favor. The Bucs offense made some plays in the joint practices, but Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask combined to throw three interceptions on Thursday, while Tampa Bay's defense didn't record any picks in Jacksonville. In fact, the Bucs secondary got burned several times by speedy rookie receiver Brian Thomas Jr. and tight end Evan Ingram also. Starting cornerback Zion McCollum gave up three touchdowns during Wednesday's practice, which was concerning. But keep in mind, the Bucs were without four starters on defense and pass rushers Yaya Diaby, Joe Tryon Shoyinka, and Kalijah Kancey, in addition to strong safety Jordan Whitehead. The Bucs backups lost to the Jaguars backups to end the week in Jacksonville in the preseason game, but the silver lining was the ton of work that young outside linebackers like Jose Ramirez, Marquise Watts, and Chris Braswell got in the absence of Diaby and JTS last week. The Dolphins came to town on Wednesday for a joint practice in Tampa, and both defenses outperformed the offenses. McCollum picked off Tua Tagovailoa on the first play of 11 on 11, which was a welcome sign for the Bucs. And the Dolphins' defensive line got the best of the Bucs' retooled offensive line on occasion due to some communication issues up front. For Tampa Bay, it was their best overall performance in the joint practices, but give Miami the edge, maybe 51-49 on the scorecard. The fact that the Bucs didn't outright win any of these joint practices should serve as a needed wake-up call for Todd Bowles and the Buccaneers, and that's a good thing. This young team that doesn't need to believe the hype right now. Winning another division title is not automatic. It has to be earned through 17 hard-fought game days. Both the Jaguars and the Dolphins were good teams last year, despite the Bucs ruining the Jaguars' Christmas with the 30-12 beatdown in Tampa on Christmas Eve. This was a Jacksonville team that finished second in the AFC South and started off 8-3 before it ran out of gas and injuries mounted at the end of the year. The Bucs were hot at the end of the season. The Jaguars were not. Miami was 11-6 last year and came in second in the AFC East. Late in December, the Dolphins were 11-4 before a pair of losses to the Ravens and Bills at the end of the season proved to be a precursor for a loss at Kansas City in that frigid playoff game. So there's no shame in losing these practices to very good teams. What concerns me is the fact that the Bucs came out flat at the start of each of those three joint practices before picking it up. Starting slow in offense was a big issue last year, as the Bucs did not score a touchdown on their opening drive in any game, including the playoffs. That needs to be corrected under new offensive coordinator Liam Cohen, and I think it will be. It would be a great sign if the Bucs starters could take the opening drive down for a touchdown in the preseason finale against Monday on Friday night. Even though he's a rookie, center Graham Barton was smart enough to recognize and verbalize the fact that the Bucs came out flat against the Dolphins in practice on Wednesday. I thought we came out a little flat today, and that was everyone. I think we need to start faster and come out with a little more juice. I thought we improved towards the end, but we came out a little flat. I think we can use Friday as a good time to get that back. Pre-game speeches don't win football games, but this Bucs team does need a fire starter. Before the words didn't match his action, Devon White was that player for his first 2 years in Tampa Bay. Then the team began to tune him out. as his play went downhill, especially last year. Someone has to take on that role to get this team ready to play, and it won't be head coach Todd Bowles. He doesn't play. It needs to be a player that has some swagger and the play on the field to back it up. The Bucs' first two Super Bowls, well, the team had plenty of fire starters. Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, John Lynch, and Mike Allstott in 2002. And then Tom Brady, Ryan Jensen, White, and Jason Pierre-Paul were the fire starters in 2020. Now, the Bucs have a host of good leaders and team captains, but that fiery vocal leader who can bring this team to a fever pitch coming out of the locker room and back it up with his play, that's going to be important to find in 2024. This team needs to start faster, and it will be interesting to see who emerges in that role. Maybe it is KJ Britt on defense, and maybe it's Baker Mayfield on offense. What the joint practices showed was that the 2024 Buccaneers are not good enough to just show up and win on game days. Not yet. This team is still too young and too inexperienced at certain positions to roll into any stadium on Sunday and win just because they're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs have been getting a lot of hype this offseason, and most think that Tampa Bay will at least be a wild card team, perhaps behind Atlanta in the division. We'll see. Not dominating good teams like the Jaguars and Dolphins should show that this Bucs team still has work to do in the weeks leading up to the start of the season. This Tampa Bay Bucs squad has not arrived just yet, and that's okay. It's better to learn these lessons now in August and use the final 2 weeks of the preseason to dig in and get better than to learn this lesson in September by being a little overconfident and having a couple surprise losses happen when the games count for real. Now, this doesn't mean Tampa Bay can't win 10 or 11 or 12 games in 2024, but it does mean that no win is certain right now for the Bucs, not even in week 1 against a rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels and the Commanders. Tampa Bay still has some work to do to get better to become the team it wants to be in 2024. And that's one that goes further than it did last year. We want you to go further and dive into all of our video content on Pewter Report TV. Make sure you subscribe. We're over 15,000 subscribers. Thanks to you, Pewter people. Check out my Pewter Pulse videos, our Pewter Report podcasts, as well as Pewter Game Day, which is going to return before the Bucs and Commanders kick off on September 8th. And also follow us on social media, X, Facebook, and Instagram at Pewter Report, and pewterreport.com for all the Bucs game coverage this year. And I'll be back soon with the new Pewter Pulse.